Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. And in today's weather forecast, we are going to be going over our January 2025 forecast, as we are going to be watching for a lot of active weather during the month of January, as we are going to be tracking well above normal precipitation across areas, and we will also be talking the potential for both frequent Arctic blasts and as well as areas seeing above normal temperatures. So make sure to stay tuned till the end so that we guys know what to expect, as we will even still be tracking the potential for a La Nina. I also do have a monitor coming next week, and if you guys haven't seen my community post, you guys can go see it. It should be the latest one, so you guys can go and see that community post if you would like, but especially subscribe to the channel, as that did cost a lot of money, and I'm also going to have to do a lot of work to set it up, so subscribing would be much appreciated. Also, don't forget to leave a thumbs up as well. Those help out more than you know. And of course, leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have down below. You guys can leave anything down below, and I'll get to those right after today's weather forecast. But let's start off by taking a look at our chances for a La Nina during the month of January. And as you guys can see, January is included in all three of these areas in blue, which the highest chance of a La Nina looks to be as we get into January, with about a 70% chance of that happening. So we will need to watch it very closely, and this has actually just been issued, by the way. So we will need to be watching January very closely, as a La Nina does still appear likely. And for my opinion, I think we're already in a La Nina, as those water temperatures have dropped the lowest that they ever had. Okay, we're talking well below 8 degrees Celsius below average, guys, and the latest value is negative 0.1 or negative 1.288, which is below a degree Celsius, guys. So this is definitely something to really keep an eye on, as temperatures are more than a degree Celsius below average, and that's what that negative sign mean, is below average. So we will need to keep an eye on it very closely, as these water temperatures will continue to drop. And yeah, it already does look like it's a La Nina right now, as much of that water temperature is already dropping to low. As of right now, we're talking temperatures well below average, and when those water temperatures get way too cool or way too low, then that can definitely change the pattern a lot. So we will need to watch it very closely. I don't know if we're going to be in a moderate La Nina. I don't know if we're just going to go back to a weak La Nina. We'll have to see what happens, but I definitely do consider this a La Nina, so we will need to be watching for potential La Nina pattern closely as we get into January. Let's now start by talking about January with your temperatures, precipitation, and even all that other stuff. Starting off with your temperatures, we will be watching for potential frequent Arctic blasts, especially across the northern United States. The areas that I think are also going to see below average temperatures is places like the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Midwest, Central Plains, and even parts there of the West. I don't really think those coastal areas are going to be that well above average, but we'll see what happens. I do expect there to be times where we see these frequent Arctic blasts roll on through, and some of them could even make it as far down south as the southern United States. But overall, though, I do think a lot of these areas across the southern United States will be slightly above average, while areas a little bit far to the north will probably be in that equal chance range, as you guys will likely be experiencing frequent areas of cold air, frequent areas of warm air. We'll have to see what happens, but that's what we're forecasting as of right now. So we will continue to watch it very closely as we get into January. Like I said, it still is going to be very uncertain on how exactly everything sets up, but we definitely will continue to watch it very closely, as a lot of these Arctic blasts could definitely be on the stronger side of things. And then for your precipitation forecast, it looks like we are going to be in a La Nina for January, as the latest from the European model. This is the European seasonal national model does want to show a La Nina-like pattern with above normal precipitation across the Northwest and as well as the Northern Rockies, with above normal there across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and as well as into the Mid-Atlantic. It does say that there could even be above normal precipitation across the Gulf Coast up there into New England, so we'll see what happens. It also does show a little bit of below average precipitation overall for January across the southern United States, which I don't really think it will be that dry, but I definitely do think they will get less precipitation compared to the rest of the United States. So we will watch it very closely as we get into January, which, like I said, is looking like a very and typical La Nina-like pattern, as we are seeing both above normal precipitation across the Northwest and above normal precipitation across the Great Lakes and as well as the Ohio Valley. Let's start talking about our snow and as well as our rainfall forecast for January. And if we look at if we're going to see any big time snowstorms during the month of January, we're pretty much looking throughout the entirety of January. This is pretty much from, I think this is from New Year's Eve all the way to January 31st. And as you guys can see, we are going to be tracking well above normal snowfall across a lot of the northern United States, as we could be seeing several feet of snowfall across the Cascades, several feet of snowfall across the northern Rockies, maybe even a couple feet of snowfall still developing across the northern plains. We could also get several feet of snowfall across the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, and as well as into the Northeast. The only area that I think is going to be questionable will be these areas like the Ohio Valley, back over there into the Central Plains and Midwest. Those are going to be the areas that are still going to be very questionable as of right now, because it's mainly going to depend on how everything sets up, but I still do think there is the potential for a foot really anywhere in the Ohio Valley, including the lower Ohio Valley, but I think areas a little bit far down to the south like Oklahoma will probably only get a couple of inches of snow, but we will watch it closely as we get into January. And then for your total rainfall for the entirety of January, just like what we looked at with the total snowfall, as we will be tracking, like I said, a lot of precipitation across the north, and a lot of that is definitely going to be considered snowfall, as we will likely see a lot of those Arctic blasts at times. And that's not the only thing. We will also be tracking a lot of atmospheric river events ongoing across the Northwest, as we could be seeing over 20 inches of rainfall overall during the month of January. So we will need to watch January very closely, as historic amounts of rainfall does appear possible, because I mean, this is the first time in many years that I've seen the Pacific Northwest see this much rainfall. So we will need to be watching January extremely closely to see if we really do see that much rainfall. Still going to remain uncertain, but we already seen that much rainfall across the Pacific Northwest after the last atmospheric river event that rolled on through, which I think was a few weeks ago. So like I said, we will be watching for more of those, so definitely be on extremely high alert as more major flooding does appear possible during the month of January. And not only the West, but also the Eastern United States will also need to watch for. It looks like the bullseye is going to be the Deep South, and as well as the Lower Ohio Valley, as those areas could see severe weather at times. And like I said, there will also be a lot of times when we see those Arctic blasts roll on through, and that's when we will see more of that snowfall potential more than that rainfall potential. But I do still think there will be some times where we do see that potential for some severe weather. And other than it getting up there into the Lower Ohio Valley, I still think areas as far down south as the Panhandle of Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama could still get some pretty good risk for severe weather, so also be on very high alert across that area as well. And then the last thing we're going to take a look at is the National Weather Service forecast for January. Now, they have a little bit of a different opinion. What they're saying saying is that those above normal temperatures are going to stay farther down to the south, which is what I said when we looked at the European model, because it doesn't really show above average across the Ohio Valley, central Midwest, or central plains. It mainly shows most of that across the southern United States, especially Texas. We could still get slightly above average temperatures across much of the western and as well as the east coasts of the United States, but I do think it's mostly going to be the southern United States to get the most above normal temperatures during the month of January. And then for precipitation, this also kind of does line up with the La Nina, as we will still be seeing temperatures, not temperatures, but precipitation much above normal across the northern Rockies. It doesn't really want to say that there will be as above average, but after looking at the European model, which we will go back one more time, I do think the precipitation will be well above average across that area, so we will need to watch both of those areas out there in the northwest closely. And then for the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes region, and as well as parts there of the upper Midwest, we will need to be watching for above normal precipitation. I do think parts there, Dixie Alley, could even get on some of that action as well, especially after the European model showing well above average precipitation across that area as well. So we will need to watch it very closely. I still agree with the National Weather Service that we will be above average for those areas, because as you can see, 4 inches of rainfall is definitely going to put you above average across all the eastern United States. So like I said, I definitely do agree on the area that's circling. I just think that green color could be expanded a little bit more, because we are going to be talking widespread above average precipitation across the east. So we will need to be watching it very closely as we get into January. Not really looking at anything certain as of right now, but as we do get closer, we will know a little bit more about January. And I think the least I can say is that January will be an extremely active month with a lot of snowstorms, a lot of heavy rainfall, a lot of severe weather events potentially, and even a lot of other stuff to really keep an eye on as well. So we'll definitely continue to watch January very closely. And yeah, of course, thank you guys so much for watching today's January forecast. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like I said, as we are going to continue to keep you guys updated with the latest. And so that way we can support the channel more and more if we continue to gain more subscribers. So make sure to subscribe down below, so that way we can keep you guys updated with the latest, and so that you can stay up to date before and after the thunderstorms. And of course, make sure to leave a like too as well. Those help out more than you know. And of course, leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have down below. Feel free to leave anything down below, and I will get to those comments in just a second. And I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and goodbye.